Hi everyone. My wife and I bought a piece of land in Poland and we are building a house for our family with our own hands. It's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it. If you'd like to follow our journey, make sure to subscribe and check out our previous 28 episodes. We've started with nothing, no tools, no experience. We bought a container for storage, built a temporary fence around our farmland, dug the foundation, and worked hard over the last few years. Along the way, we built our own water system and put up all the walls by ourselves. This is how our house looks like now, and in this episode, we finally start working on the roof. The first thing I prepared was the DPC, using bitumen sheets. I still had a few rolls left from the foundation work, so it meant no additional cost this time. I cut them into the right size and rolled them up. I mentioned in the previous episode what a big mistake it was to wrap all the beams in plastic foil. After installing them, I wasn't really paying much attention to the beams anymore, but one day something caught my eye. Unfortunately, the foil trapped moisture and a couple of beams started to grow some nasty mold. It was pretty sad to see, especially knowing how expensive these beams were, and they weren't even a month old. Luckily, the beams had only been wrapped for a few weeks, so the mold was just on the top of the surface. I looked into a few options online and quickly went out to buy a very strong product to kill all the mold within minutes. I even had to wear a mask because this stuff was seriously strong. I let them dry for a while and then applied a protective layer, hoping for the best. It was time to place the bitumen sheets on the top of the walls. I simply poked holes through the sheets for the threaded rods and rolled it out along the entire wall, doing the same on both sides. Because of the holes on the sheet, I had to bring out the liquid tar again. I simply brushed a generous amount of tar around the threaded rods so it would seal all the holes. Because the sheets were not long enough, I had to connect them in a few places. Instead of overlapping them, I decided to add some liquid tar underneath and brush around the joints to seal it. I didn't want to overlap this time, because that would have lifted the beam slightly. The next step was lifting the wall plates, and this was challenging. I had a total of 6 pieces, each 4 to 5 meters long, and every one of them weighed around 90 to 100 kilograms. At this point, I knew my dad would be coming to visit me soon, and we would build the roof together, but I just couldn't resist starting and moving them up by myself. The first try was reasonable. I actually had a plan how to do it, but for the next one I mostly improvised, and it was actually quite funny. I laughed at myself quite a bit and ended up having a lots of fun with it. At the end, the job got done, right? I managed to move all of them up there on my own, and I was pretty proud of myself for pulling off such a tough task. Additionally, I put a few screws into the crossbeams on the top of the pillars just to hold everything together. After that, I left the farm for the day, planning to continue again the next morning. The previous night, I had a small accident, but nothing that could keep me away from continuing the build. I thought a wine glass would be a good tool for cutting the dough for the dinner. Turns out it wasn't really. I've been planning to get a circle or so for a while. Now I had the perfect excuse. Picked up a few new tools, checked the plans, and got straight back to the roof. The first thing I did was place the beams next to the threaded rods and mark their position carefully. Then I drilled 3 holes on each beam. I was a bit nervous because I had exactly the right number of beams, so I had no room for error at all. Placing the beam onto the rods by myself wasn't easy at all, especially with one hand only halfway working, but slowly, step by step, I got there. When the moment came, it slid perfectly into place, and you can tell how happy I was. I quickly checked the measurements, and sure enough, everything was spot on. Each end of the wall plate had to be cut into half-lap joints so the beam could fit together nice and strong. So that's what I was working on, or more like experimenting, since it was my first time doing it. I prepared another beam as well, but this time I had to cut into the underside so it would fit and connect properly to the other beam. I was just about to put the beam in its final place, but it went in the worst direction possible. Straight down. When the beam went down, I heard a cracking noise, which immediately worried me. My mind started running through all sorts of worst case scenarios. I had the whole week booked off to build the roof with my family, and the broken beam wasn't definitely part of the plan. There was no time to wait for another order. I needed everything go smoothly this time. Finally, I gathered my courage and I went out to check the damage. The beam already had some cracks from the wood drying, but I decided to hold it together with the cargo belt and secure it with a couple of long screws, just in case the wood had been compromised. My father-in-law had some free time, and I knew he would be coming the next day to help me with the roof, alongside with my dad, so I decided to leave the rest for later. But before calling it a day, I couldn't just leave that annoying beam sitting there, so I gave it one more try. It drained whatever energy I had left in me, but somehow I managed to get it into place again. Finally, the wall plate was where it was supposed to be, didn't fail this time, and I could take a well-earned break before continuing. The next day my father-in-law arrived, bright and early. It didn't take long before the pace picked up. Having an extra pair of experienced hands made a huge difference. While I was still catching my breath from the previous day, he jumped straight into organizing the tools and materials, already thinking a few steps ahead. There is something about working together like this that really changes everything. Jobs that felt heavy and slow suddenly started moving much faster, and even the tricky part didn't seem as overwhelming as before. In the end, all the wall plates were sitting neatly on the top of the walls, nice and secure, and we were finally ready for the next step. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Let's reach that 1000 subscribers milestone. And if you'd like to support our project with the price of a coffee, there is a link in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in 2 weeks when I'll bring you a brand new update. Thanks for watching. Mark is out. Peace.